Imagine being told there's an animal that can grow old, then simply decide to become young again. Another creature can punch so violently it creates a tiny explosion underwater. There's a fish with a transparent head, a shrimp that fires shockwaves. Evolution has pushed their biology into places that seem completely ridiculous. Just beneath the ocean, survival gets weird. Really weird. These are sea creatures that seem to absolutely violate biology. Number 1. The jellyfish that refuses to die. Let's begin with immortality. Normally, life has a pretty simple rule. You're born, you grow, you reproduce, you get older, and eventually you die. Apparently, nobody explained this to Turritopsis dohrnii. I just hope I got the pronunciation right. Better known as the immortal jellyfish. It's tiny, only a few millimeters across, and visually, it isn't particularly terrifying. Its real trick happens when things go wrong. If an adult jellyfish becomes injured, starved, or severely stressed, it can do something extraordinary. Instead of simply dying, it can transform back toward an earlier stage of its life cycle. Imagine becoming elderly, having a terrible week, and responding by turning back into a child. The jellyfish's cells can change their function during this process. Eventually, it can produce adult jellyfish again, and theoretically, the cycle can happen repeatedly. That doesn't mean the animal literally cannot die. It can still be eaten, it can still become diseased, and it can still be killed. But when aging comes knocking, the jellyfish has an absolutely ridiculous response. Well, try again. Number 2. The shrimp with a gun. Next, meet an animal small enough to fit comfortably inside your hand. The pistol shrimp. One of its claws is massively oversized, but the claw isn't mainly used to pinch enemies. Instead, the shrimp snaps it so quickly that it fires a high-speed jet of water. That sudden movement creates a cavitation bubble. For a tiny moment, the pressure inside collapses. Then, the bubble implodes. The collapse produces an intense shockwave, enough to stun or kill small prey nearby. And for an incredibly brief instant, that collapsing bubble can become extremely hot and even produce a flash of light. So technically, the shrimp isn't shooting a bullet, it's doing something far more ridiculous. It's using water to create an underwater shockwave. Imagine evolving claws and somehow ending up with a biological stun gun. Number 3. The animal with 3 hearts. Now let's meet the octopus. Already one of the strangest animals on Earth. It has 3 hearts. 2 pump blood to where it kills. The third pumps blood around the rest of the body. And that blood isn't red, it's blue. Humans use iron-containing hemoglobin to transport oxygen. Octopuses instead rely on a copper-containing protein called hemocyanin. But somehow, that's not even the weirdest part. An octopus has a large nervous system with an enormous number of neurons distributed through its arms. Its arms can perform remarkably complex movements, and they can also process sensory information locally. Meanwhile, the animal can squeeze through astonishingly small gaps because it has no rigid skeleton. It can change its skin color, pattern, and texture to blend into its surroundings. Lose an arm? Well, it can regenerate much of it. 3 hearts, blue blood, regrowing limbs, shape-changing skin, and 8 arms, with extensive local neural control. At some point, evolution apparently stopped choosing one special ability and just started adding everything. Number 4. The fish with a transparent head. Deep beneath the ocean surface, sunlight begins to disappear, food becomes scarce, and finding prey gets incredibly difficult. So, evolution produced the barrel-eye fish. At first glance, it already looks strange. Then, you notice its head. Part of it is transparent. Inside, you can actually see the fish's eyes, and those eyes aren't where you might expect them. The strange green structures inside its transparent head are its tubular eyes. They can point upward, allowing the fish to search for silhouettes of prey above. But the eyes can also rotate forward when the fish needs to feed. Imagine needing to look upward, and evolution responds by giving you a transparent roof on your own skull. It looks less like an animal and more like someone forgot to finish rendering it. Number 5. The male that becomes part of his girlfriend. Dating can be difficult, especially at the bottom of the ocean. In the deep sea, animals may live far apart. Finding another member of your own species can be incredibly difficult. So some anglerfish evolved perhaps the most extreme solution to dating in the entire animal kingdom. A female can be dramatically larger than the male. The tiny male spends his time searching for her. When he finally finds one, he bites her, and in some species, he doesn't let go. His tissues begin fusing with hers. Their circulatory systems can eventually connect. Over time, the male loses much of his independence. He receives nutrients through the female and essentially becomes a permanent source of sperm. In some species, multiple males can attach to the same female. From an evolutionary perspective, it solves a serious problem. Once you've found a mate in an enormous dark ocean, you never have to find one again. Romantic? Maybe. Terrifying? Absolutely. Number 6. The creature that turns into slime. Now imagine you're a predator and you spot an easy meal. Long, soft, slow. Well, you bite it. Congratulations, you've attacked a hagfish, and you've made a terrible mistake. That's because when you threaten it, hagfish releases a small amount of specialized slime material into the surrounding water. Then, something ridiculous happens. That material expands enormously. Within moments, the water around the animal can become filled with thick slime. For a fish predator, this is a problem. The slime can interfere with the gills, making it difficult to breathe properly. The predator often has little choice but to release the hagfish. Meanwhile, the hagfish can tie its own body into a knot and slide the knot along itself, helping scrape away the slime. So its defense strategy is basically turn the surrounding ocean into mucus, then tie yourself into a knot and leave. Somewhere, evolution deserves an apology. Number 7. The shrimp that punches reality. If the pistol shrimp wasn't ridiculous enough, meet the mantis shrimp. Depending on the species, the specialized appendages can be built for spearing prey or smashing it. The famous smashers have club-like weapons that accelerate with extraordinary speed. The strike can crack hard shells, but just like the pistol shrimp, the impact can also create cavitation. The pressure drops so rapidly that bubbles form, then collapse, meaning the target can experience the initial strike followed by another force from the collapsing bubbles. Basically, the mantis shrimp can hit you, and then the water hits you too, and somehow its weapons survive repeated impacts without simply destroying themselves. Its club contains a highly specialized composite structure that helps resist cracking. So this animal didn't merely evolve one of the fastest strikes in the ocean, it also evolved the biological engineering necessary to survive using it. Now, the deeper we explore the ocean, the stranger biology becomes. An animal can reverse its life cycle. Shrimps create cavitation shockwaves. Males permanently fuse with females. These creatures, well, they actually prove biology's rules are far more flexible than they look. Evolution doesn't care whether a solution seems normal. It doesn't care whether it looks elegant. And it definitely doesn't care whether it makes sense to us. If something helps an organism survive long enough to reproduce, nature can turn the ridiculous into reality. So maybe the strangest thing about these creatures isn't that they break the rules. It's that every single one is proof the rules were never as simple as we thought.